Hey, it's Marina, Travel Experta. Today, we're going to be talking about mezcal in Oaxaca. Are you guys ready for an adventure? Let's begin. Mezcal is pretty much the essence of everything around Oaxaca. It's absolutely incredible the amount of mezcal that is made from this region. This is the region of mezcal. So if you hear it being done in any other places, chances are it's not the real mezcal. So Matatlan, which is a town about 45 minutes outside of Oaxaca, is where there's over 250 distilleries. And as you're driving to or around Oaxaca, all you will pretty much see are the agave or margawe fields, right? That is really where it is all pretty much originated from. And if you are visiting Oaxaca, I really recommend doing a mezcal journey, tour, experience, whatever you want to call it, because this is a way to really learn what mezcal is all about. We personally do not enjoy the flavor of mezcal, but that doesn't take away from the fact that mezcal is such an important part of Mexico, Oaxacan culture, and that whole region. And just because our taste buds aren't really into mezcal doesn't mean that yours aren't, because mezcal is considered a very important alcohol and a lot of people are really into it. And as you walk around Oaxaca, all you see is pretty much mezcalerias where they sell mezcal, and there are very good top shelf mezcals. However, just going and doing it and really understanding the whole process will blow your mind. It is one of the most laborious alcohols that you will find today. It is literally 99% manual labor, and the 1% is only because they have to pour it in, and that is done through a machine. But everything else is completely done by hand. So first of all, the process is the actual plant, the agave root, the agave plant, or how they call it, amargais, is you need the corazon of it, the heart of it, or the piña to get it. And it usually takes about 7 to 9 years to really become alive. Some of them are actually 15 years, and obviously those are the more expensive ones. And what's really interesting is when they plant it, you have the mother plant and then they plant the baby plant, and it takes up to a year for the baby plant to kind of take root, and then they have to move it because then it starts to drain the mother plant of all its nourishments. So they move it. Okay, it starts there. I don't know if you guys have actually seen the agave plant. It is not the most cuddly plant. It is actually quite rough, and it's like a cactus, right? And everything has to be done by hand. So you could get really cut up. Then you don't use the leaves. So you have to machete the leaves to get them off first before you can even cultivate the heart or the corazon of this plant, which is where all the sugar is accumulated. Then each 8 kilos of a plant, and they could grow up to 60 kilos, that is only giving you about 1 liter of the actual mezcal. Okay, so that is literally how hard it is. And you have to take it into your hands. You have to put it on the ground. You have to axe it up. Once you axe it up, you have to throw it into this huge dirt oven to make sure to get all the juices in it. Then people move it out. Then the distillery process happens. Each process is hand done, including a horse, which rips it up into shreds that you put into the distillery. It is a 2-time distilled process, all done by hand, cooking it in the heat. Then you extract the alcohol from it. And I mean, the process is super long, laborious. And honestly, like when you're looking at prices of mezcal, please remember the amount of work that is involved behind it. And it just really gives you a whole new take on understanding what goes behind this particular alcohol. And it is a very deeply loved and cultural alcohol here. And interestingly enough, the agave plant is actually called the gift from the gods. Even though mezcal has probably been around for around 350 years, there has been historical readings that it goes back to almost 3,000 years ago, during when the Aztecs and the Mayans actually processed it themselves. And there's obviously this whole thing, what's the difference between tequila and mezcal, which comes from the exact same plant. Tequila is a region, and even though it wants to be called as a completely different alcohol, pretty much is around the exact same type of a process. However, mezcal is definitely the first process before it becomes more of a tequila. Since I'm not talking about tequila, I'm not going to get into the ideas and all that goes behind the tequila, but that is done from the exact same plant. They are different regions. Tequila is further up north in the actual region of tequila as well. If you guys want to check that out, I would love to hear more about how tequila is done and whatnot, but I am definitely talking about mezcal. So there are different flavors in mezcal, but interestingly enough, that is considered like the ones that is the creamier one. That comes from condensed milk, and personally in my taste, that's the one that we enjoyed the most, but it's considered to be the less premium ones, right? Like the top shelf ones are the more pure ones. And there's even an interesting one that they use a pechuga of a turkey or a chicken, the breast that they put in, that becomes part of the mezcal itself. And obviously they also have ones with worms. This is something that you could taste, and during the tour you will be able to taste all of them, and as much as you possibly want and can. So honestly, this is something that I truly recommend doing. And when you do, some of them offer you dinners, which is a very Oaxacan dinner flavor as well, to different restaurants. Honestly, guys, one of the coolest tours that we have done while visiting Oaxaca. It is an entire day trip, so make sure that you allot a full day for this trip. If you guys have done one of these, I'd love to hear your take on it. And if you have feedback, I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a review, share it with your friends, and remember to make every day an adventure.